tiempo, que Irene es la...
Thank you so much, Yondo. Everyone give a round of applause for Yondo. Yes.
Welcome to Assembly. I want to go ahead and start off with our usual announcements. You guys are looking so dapper with our business majors. If you're a business major, stand up. Look at them. They look so good. So you may be seated. Thank you guys for coming on time. We have a business summit, business department summit today. And is it this weekend or is it just today, Dr. Moses? Just today? Okay, and our speaker is here on behalf of our business department, so I'm excited for that. We're gonna start off with, if you played our Constitution Cash Cab, we owe some of you some money. So David Shibalovich, Jeremiah, easy. Okay, come up. Jeremiah, you can come get your $3. Genesis Castillo, are you here, Genesis? Want to make sure you guys get your money, Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell, something. Cheyenne Johnson. Jordan Valdez. Gabriel Hernandez and Ashley Leon. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start off with our other announcements. I'm going to invite SWAU Director Gabriel Hernandez to come up. Thank you.
All right, guys. So who knows what SWAU is? Like, who's been to a SWAU? I know we haven't even had one this year. Who knows what it stands for? Anyone knows what it stands for? No? Kepo, you know what it stands for? Yeah, so SWAU stands for Southwestern Adventist Youth. As you can see, this Saturday, we have our first one, and since it's Hispanic Latin... Yo, Danny. No, that's Saturday, not right now.
You told me what's today.
No, it's Saturday. Today's Thursday. You're good. So this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. we have our Latino worship night, SWAU, and it was gonna start at 6:30. If you have your flag, come bring it, represent your country. If you have anything dressed like your country, bring it. We're gonna be here at the Keene Chapel, which is about right there, behind there. So come up, Saturday night, 6:30 p.m.
Let's give a round of applause for Gabriel and Daniel. Okay, 6:30, where is it at? Keene Chapel, okay? SA, we have some announcements from SA. I'm gonna invite your social VP, Chloe Samaniego, to come up.
Okay, so just a couple of announcements of some events that we have coming up. Can we actually go to the State Fair slide, please? So right now we're selling State Fair tickets in Moran. They're $11. We're sponsoring some of the money. So if you don't know where Moran is, it's the building in the back, like by the library parking lot. It's back there. It's a small building. You can just go in there. You can buy them from Dean or anybody that's working in there. Can we go to the Mavs game, please, next? Yes. Stop. So we're selling Mavericks tickets. You can buy these in the business office in Findlay and also in Moran. It's October 26th. We're providing transportation, so if you need transportation, that is available. We will be sending out a QR code with questions about it. And also for the tickets, you buy the tickets and then they will be sent to you the day of. So it'll be either be sent to you on your email or on your phone number. And then this Sunday, next one, please. Yes, this Sunday, we have a little pop-up. We're gonna have board games set up in the student center and also snacks and stuff, so you can come chill, play board games with your friends and stuff. So yes, that's it. If you have any questions, you can ask any of your SA team members. Thank you.
Thank you, Chloe. Who knows what this week is? It's been in the CAF, card ministry. Missions Emphasis Week. Okay, great. So we're going to have an announcement by our student missions chaplain, Julia, at the end of assembly, so that you guys know more about what's happening for Vespers this Friday. We're going to go ahead and start off with a word of prayer. Thank you guys so much for being here, being on time. And we're just going to get right into it. Let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for this day. Thank you, God, that even in the midst of the busyness of studying and jobs and all the extracurriculars, we can still pause and come to you. And we can still come together to learn a little bit more about some life skills. We ask that you be with our speaker today. We ask that you be with each student as they prepare for midterms. We thank you, Lord, for your love. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm going to invite Dr. Moses to come up here so he can introduce our speaker. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you. So, like she alluded to a little bit ago, today we had our second annual Inspire and Elevate Summit in the business department, business and communications. And we've been blessed already this morning with 9 different speakers that held sessions this morning in Pachero Hall. We had topic tables for lunch here in the fellowship hall where we had, I think, 12 different tables with topics and experts at the table to talk about different topics during lunch. And we're very blessed to have Antonio Escalona here today to talk with us. He actually brought several people from PepsiCo with him, and we're blessed to have all of them. Some of them were having sessions this morning. So as I said, we're blessed to have Antonio here. So I'm going to read his bio here for you. And, well, till my phone closes on me. Okay. Antonio Escalona is a global executive with over 35 years of experience driving growth, transformation, and operational excellence across consulting, finance, sales, and general management. He spent 3 decades at PepsiCo, holding senior leadership roles across 5 continents and leading the Hispanic snacks portfolio in the U.S. to double its sales in just 5 years. Before PepsiCo, Antonio began his career as a senior consultant at EY Venezuela. Today, he serves on the boards of After School All-Stars North Texas, YPO Dallas Gold, and Stars Uganda, reflecting his passion for youth empowerment and global development. Born in Venezuela and also a proud Mexican national, Antonio brings a multicultural perspective to his work. He's a devoted husband, father of 3, and enjoys reading, traveling, cooking, and golf. Welcome, Antonio.
Thank you, Dr. Moses. You're very kind. Can you hear me? Not yet? I think it's, well, we get the mic on? Great. So let me get my notes here. And it's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. It's always a challenge to present or to speak after lunch. For some of us that had lunch just now. So I'm going to do my best to keep you awake and try to share a bit of my learning. But I first want to thank again Dr. Moses, Dr. Patterson, Professor Lixis and Leduc for their invitation to share some of my insights that I have gathered throughout my career. As Dr. Moses said, I spent 30 years at PepsiCo, and I, before that I worked in Venezuela at EY, and I'll tell you a little bit about what I learned in that career, and hopefully you can use some of those learnings as you begin shaping your own careers. So the first point I want to make 3 points today. So the first one is going to be about the rewards and satisfactions that you can get from what I call taking the roads less traveled. Taking the roads less traveled. And even if they look challenging, if they look dangerous, if they look treacherous, I can tell you that in my own personal experience, some of the best opportunities I had in my life were, when I took those roles that were either not very popular or that were perceived as a risky bet, or, people even recommended maybe I didn't take them. So, for example, early in my career, when I was working for EY, Ernst & Young is a big consulting and audit firm. Many of you in the business, career probably know about it. I was working for them in Venezuela. A partner at the firm, the most senior people, the firm are partners. He asked me to learn about a topic that was, all the details of inflationary accounting. I mean, for those of you that are studying business, accounting is already a complex subject as it is. Well, imagine inflationary accounting. This is very specialized. It was, I would say, boring, dense, heavy. I wasn't very attracted to it, but this guy said, you should learn about this. And he gave me these books. And I carried these books in my briefcase. I won't, lie to you. I think it was probably maybe 1 or 2 months they were sitting in my briefcase. And from time to time, I would look at those books, and I knew I had to read them, because at some point he was going to ask about it, but I kept avoiding it until I had no choice. I had a deadline was coming, and I had to read them. As I read these books, I learned, the topic of inflation in Venezuela is a country that had a lot of inflation at the time, and it still has it, unfortunately, was very relevant. So I started to understand that this was important, that I needed to learn this, and I invested completely myself into this topic. I switched the situation and say, you know what, I have no choice here. He's giving me this for a reason. I'm going to learn everything I have. And after reading these books, I learned so much that I asked to be sent to training, and I started to become an expert. And eventually, within maybe 6 months, less than a year, I became one of the firm experts. But I was also the youngest. I was about 21 or 22. I started working when I was 19. And I was being asked to meet with senior leaders at our clients. These were people who were the CFOs, the controllers of these businesses. And at some point, they asked me, this became so important in the country because there were new regulations around accounting for inflation, that they asked me to teach the CFOs and the controllers and people at these firms, at these companies, about this topic. I was teaching literally people who were 20, 30, more probably years older than me. I was, again, 21, 22 at the time. But thanks to this role, I had this exposure to some of the most senior partners at EY, because they would bring me to meetings, they would ask me to speak to their clients about this topic. And I'm convinced that having that experience so early in my career helped shape my personality. I helped expand my appetite for taking risks and made me, less afraid to take the road less traveled. And this has been a recurring theme in my professional career. In fact, as I look backwards, as I look at my career, I now realize that taking that road less traveled became a team. It was, all these roads were somewhat connected. And, I'll explain you why. One of the partner that asked me to learn about inflation and accounting, he encouraged me to study English. He said, you need to learn English to be, to grow in the firm. So he pushed me to study English in the US, and I came to the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. And I returned to Venezuela after that, and I say, even though I had a bright future in the firm, I say, I need to work in the US. I want to, take this leap and work in the US, even though I had no family or friends living here. At the time, there was not a lot of people emigrated from Venezuela. It was a great country then. But despite those barriers, I decided to take that road less travel of moving abroad when I was only 24 and take a job at PepsiCo through a headhunter that connected me to the firm. I actually, I want to show you this photo here. I took that road when I was only 24. I moved to PepsiCo. At that time, we used to work with ties every day. Nowadays, I don't think a lot of people, except for a few students here that I see, very formal wearing a tie. We used to wear ties every day. Can you imagine? This is like last millennium, last century. So after that 5 years in New York working for PepsiCo, I came to another crossroad where I had the opportunity to stay in the US, or I could move to London to lead a treasury function for PepsiCo in the Asia Pacific region. Again, it was a great role here in the US, a safe decision to stay here, out of my comfort zone, going to the UK. And you can guess now what road I took. I took that road less travel with my wife. We didn't have any family living in London or friends. And we went with our 1-year-old to London and moved there. After 4 years in London, where we loved living there was an opportunity to move to Mexico, to Monterrey. So we moved to Mexico for an exciting role in the Latin American region. And after 10 years, working in all these roles, living in great places like New York, London, and Monterrey, and having roles of increasing responsibility, I knew that the ideal next step for my career was to become a CFO for one of PepsiCo businesses. I needed to kind of take that step. And indeed, the CFO role for an important region came up. This was a role where I would lead the entire finance function, including information technology, a big team, about 500 people. But there was one catch. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that no one wanted to take this role. No one wanted to take this role because of the country where this role was based. This country was unsafe. This country was politically and socially unstable. The rule of law was very fragile. Definitely, the road less traveled. In fact, imagine this. Imagine going on a highway, seeing all the cars coming in one direction, and you are the only car going in that direction. That's how it felt for me, going the opposite direction. But I knew, inside of me, for some reason, I knew I had to take that role. So I took that role, I became the CFO, and after that role, I got another opportunity to become the general manager. And because something that I never thought possible, being, starting in accounting in PepsiCo, becoming the general manager came up. And again, taking that role less travel of going to that country got me to that incredible opportunity. So I wanna ask you, and I think I had this question here before, what's that road less travel that you are afraid to take? Think about a road less travel that you probably have in front of you today, and why are you afraid of taking it? What's stopping you from taking that road? Could that be that road actually is the one that leads you to something extraordinary, like it did for me, that took me, these many roads have taken me to places I never imagined growing up in, a small city in Venezuela I could get to. Now, after taking that role, I would say that besides the career aspect of going to that country, taking that role, you can clearly see it was a progression, career progression, but it was a place nobody wanted to go. There was another very important and personal reason for me to take that role, less travel, and move to that country. And this is what I want to talk about, the second point of my keynote. It is about staying connected to where you come from. Staying connected to where you come from, whatever and whatever home means to you, and how that grounding can shape your values and your decisions. For me, that risky place that nobody wanted to go was home. That place, that role was based in my home country of Venezuela. And you see, while I was studying college in Venezuela, and at the same time working at EY, I finished college, I started doing my MBA in the same university because I was so convinced I was never going to leave my country. It was the perfect country. For me, it was the best country in the world. I was very happy. I had an amazing family. I had friends. I have everything. And in general, I love my country. I was very happy there. But as you know, that faithful English program at UPenn came up, and I eventually moved to the US, and I started working, making my decision. And I moved to the US, I started working for PepsiCo, and as I work for PepsiCo, I strive to maintain my strong bond with Venezuela. My wife, who is also Venezuelan, and I made an effort to travel there every year for the holidays, and we wanted to visit, our relative. We connected with Venezuelans everywhere we live, in every city. We found Venezuelans in Monterrey. It wasn't, again, common to emigrate from Venezuela at the time, and we did an effort to find them, to find the community and connect with them. Every year in PepsiCo, we were asked to write our career plan, what we want to do the next 3 to 5 years, and I would write, I want to have a career assignment in Venezuela. That's what I would write. I want eventually to go back to Venezuela and have an assignment there. And eventually, that opportunity, as I told you already, came. We spent, a total of 8 years between my CFO role and my general manager role in Venezuela. But why do you think I wanted to go back there? As I reflected on this, I reflected a lot on this and why. And I think I can only attribute this to something that I think is part of human nature. In my case, was very important, and I think hopefully all of you have this need and this sense of belonging, of the need to belong somewhere, right? The need to be to connect with people that we share something, whether it's a shared history, a shared culture, shared traditions, and to me that's very powerful. Deep inside, I think it was even more than that. I think this was connected to my purpose. As I think about it, those 5 years in Venezuela, I love every role I had at PepsiCo. I was the luckiest person in terms of the roles and the opportunity I had. But if I had to pick one role where I was the happiest, where I was, I could see my impact, was that role in Venezuela. Yes, the political and the social environment was extremely difficult. Yes, the business was very challenged. At some point, we thought that we were going to have to shut down that business. We had a hostile union. We have a government that was, but made our life very difficult. We operated under a lot of constraints, didn't have access to hard currency, to dollars, insecurity. Have to have armed guards, with me, very weak legal framework, a lot of things that I would say didn't make it attractive. But at the same time, in this role, I felt a deep sense of purpose. I would even describe it as a sense of duty. Given how complicated everything was in this country, I knew that I was in a very privileged position, being the general manager of a business in that country, and that I needed to do my best. My family was there, I have friends, I have relatives there. So every decision I took it thinking not just about the short-term impact, but how would I leave that place better than it was when I found it. So I was very aware that every decision I made had real and oftentimes could be even life-changing implications for the people that were impacted by those decisions, not only our teams, but also the communities. I'll share an example. When I was a general manager in Venezuela, we had to import potato seeds from Canada. PepsiCo owns Frito-Lay's, one of our businesses, and that was the business I was running. So those seeds, we didn't grow any potato seeds in Venezuela, so I have to bring all the way from a place called the Prince Edward Island in Canada to plant these potatoes. We give it to the farmers who will plant the potatoes, and those potatoes we'll use to produce Lay's and Ruffles and those potato chips. But it was incredible the challenge we faced. We didn't have dollars from the government. We needed to ask for dollars from the government. We needed to get permits from the agricultural authorities. Bringing the seeds from Canada took weeks by ship. And sometimes they arrived damaged. In fact, one year they arrived damaged, and I was summoned. I was asked to come to Congress to testify because of the impact that caused to our agriculture. So that's how complicated these decisions were. So after living through all these challenges, I say, why don't we do something to create these potato seeds in Venezuela to start developing them? So I convinced the company to invest money in a center to develop potato seeds to supply our business. And we're there opening with the local mayor and some of our people from our plant so that we could reduce that complexity of bringing these seeds from Canada. But that decision in itself had a lot of challenges. I knew that producing those seeds locally was complicated. We didn't have a lot of the technical resources to do that. But proudly I can tell you, I checked this before coming here, that center is still open. That center is still operating. And it's not only supplying potato seeds to PepsiCo, it's supplying potato seeds to local farmers that are using those potato seeds for their own living and to grow potatoes. So we help create a bit of independence from having to import potatoes. Now, there was another personal angle to this decision coming back to Venezuela. Of course, my family was there. But my sister, who was 10 months younger than I was, so imagine having a sister where you share the same age for 2 months every year. That's how close we were. And she was sick with cancer at that time. She was only, 30-something, in her 30s, and she became sick with cancer, breast cancer first, and then it got worse and got to other parts of her body. While I was living there, I knew that she was sick, so that was a big part of my decision to go there. And I was able to spend that final 18 months of her life with her. She eventually passed in 2012. Every day after work, I would come to her house and have lunch with her or dinner and spend time. It was a very, very difficult time for my entire family, as you can imagine, for my parents in particular, for all of us. But for me, being physically in Venezuela at that time, it was so important. And I confirmed what I think we all know, that the most important thing for us is our family, and being able to make those decisions to be there with her was important. But eventually, after 5 years as general manager in Venezuela, it was time for me to take a new role. That role was in Mexico, in Mexico City. We moved to Mexico City, and we quickly connected to the Mexican culture. My new role was leading a sales team in Mexico, the largest sales team that PepsiCo has anywhere in the world, 23,000 people that basically sell our products anywhere from Tijuana down to the state of Chiapas. And I was able to visit every one of the 31 states of Mexico, so I got to know the country really well. I travel, I spend time, we have the best team, the best team in Mexico. My wife actually likes to make fun of me because she says that I try to speak con un acento bien mexicano when I'm with my Mexican friends, but the reality is I discovered something else there, that you can feel, you can have that sense of belonging in other places too. And I felt very lucky because then I found that we could be Mexicans as well. And we became Mexicans. We took the Mexican nationality. My family and I took the Mexican nationality, and we became Mexican citizens. We thought we were living there for many more years. But after almost 6 years in Mexico City, another great opportunity came for us. We moved back to the US, this time to Texas. We moved to Dallas 5 years ago because I was offered a great opportunity to come and lead a business unit in the US that would focus entirely on the US Hispanic market. For me, it was a dream job, coming to the US after 20 years since I left to London and lead a business that was responsible for growing these brands that are loved by Latinos like Sabritas, Rancheritos, Sabritones, Marias Gamesa, all these brands. And I got to travel the country. I got to travel the entire, market, especially the large cities like LA or New York or Miami, where you have a lot of Latinos, but also small towns in places you never imagined there were so many Latinos and how Latinos are growing. I got to attend exciting events like the Latin Grammys and, have our brands there present with amazing artists. And hopefully some of you recognize a person that is very close to UC University, Lily Valera, who is a dear friend. And she helped us get to the Grammys and have people like Carlos Vives there with us. But I also, at the same time, I started to appreciate other parts of the American culture. I started to appreciate, yes, I love the Latin culture, but I started to appreciate things like the American football. Not the football that we call in Latin America, which is, to me, the real football, but the American football. And yes, one of the perks I had working for PepsiCo was attending the Super Bowl and hanging out with these guys. You probably know that guy. He's only famous because he's, what's her name? I was going to say Britney Spears, but it's not Britney Spears. I forgot her name. Exactly, Taylor Swift's boyfriend or fiance, I guess, right now, right? So anyways, I know some of you probably don't like Dak Prescott much because they've been losing, but still, my son is a huge fan, so I had to take that photo for him and send him. So I learned, in fact, the reason I went to these events, other than because I was trying to learn football, is because we discovered that one of the fastest growing groups for the NFL, the group that they were trying to attract was Latinos. They were trying to attract Hispanics to the game because they knew every sport. I know the guy who runs, for example, Hispanic marketing for the Dallas Stars because hockey, the NHL decided that if they're going to survive in the US, they need to attract Latinos to the sport. That's how important we are to the economy of this country in terms of the growth opportunity that we represent. That's how we are important because we're young, and not me, but you. We're young, and we represent all this growth. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but Hispanics are opening businesses at a rate faster than anybody in this country, except for Hispanic women. Hispanic women are the fastest growing cohort in terms of opening new businesses. So we discovered that Hispanics was such a big opportunity. We needed to also do something to help the community because they face a lot of barriers. And we created this program called Juntos Crecemos to support Hispanic-owned businesses and help, bodegas, taquerias, carnicerias in the US. So through all this, I'm telling you, because through my work with Hispanics in the US, then I discovered something else. I experienced the cultural nuances and the characteristics that we share across Hispanics, whether we are Venezuelans myself, Mexican like myself as well, many of you here, but also Argentinians like Professor Checoto, where he's probably here, Adrian. I mean, like all these nationalities have something in common, and is that home is our culture. I think that's how important it is for me being in the US and thinking that I was leaving Latin America, that in fact, if we carry our culture with pride, then we can feel at home. And that's how I felt in PepsiCo every time I had the chance of being part of Adelante, where I was executive sponsor. And, my dear friend and colleague Lisa Peña here, who is very active in Adelante, we're very lucky to have people like Lisa very committed to the ERG. And that's how I personally found that deep sense of belonging you can find it everywhere. I found it in the US. Today, as Dr. Moses said, I serve on the board of a nonprofit that provides after-school activities to children in underprivileged communities in Dallas, and a large proportion of those children is Hispanic. So I could find a way to be connected to my community through multiple ways. So now I want to ask you, what does home mean to you? What does home mean to you? Not just as a place, but also as a feeling. Think about that, because I think that's an important concept to have throughout your life in terms of like really being connected, feeling connected to that home. But at the same time, I mean, like, imagine, like, is it home for you when you play soccer? Is it home for you? Do you feel home when you eat your tacos? When you, when you listen to your favorite artist? What is home? What is that feeling? To me, home can have many feelings, many meanings, many feelings, many flavors, many aromas. And, but at the same time, I can also want to ask you, how are you nurturing your sense of belonging? Are you, staying connected to home? Are you finding a way to stay connected to home, no matter where it is, if it's far or close from where you are? But at the same time, are you also growing into these new spaces and relationships that you're finding through your, new life in college or at work? I think that's the beauty of this, is that you can feel at home, through that connection with your roots, but at the same time, with your new, places that you're finding. And I want to now move to my third point, the importance of building a purposeful network. For me, that's been critical, because it's been, not only important in terms of my career, but also those relationships with sponsors and with mentors who help me guide and challenge me over the years. I told you already, I joined EY in Venezuela when I was very young, 19 years old. Up until that point, I don't think I had a true mentor. I had, the occasional advice from my aunts or uncles, but nothing that I would call a formal mentorship. And in fact, at the time in EY, there wasn't even probably a professional, like a formal mentorship program. But there were a couple of partners and senior managers that I considered, I felt comfortable reaching out to, asking questions. I already mentioned my decision to come to the US in Philadelphia and how that was encouraged by one of those partners that became my mentor, how that changed my life, because I met him through that work in inflationary accounting. Otherwise, I mean, he encouraged me, by the way, he helped the firm sponsor my program. Otherwise, I could have never afforded this trip. And he guided me through the process of even selecting the city, the town, the university. And thanks to that decision, I made the decision to work at PepsiCo, and that was helped by another mentor who connected me. So throughout my professional career, I have multiple mentors. A mentor, by the way, doesn't have to be older than you. Many times they're older than you, but I can tell you, in fact, that for this keynote, I enlisted the help of another great mentor. She's here with me, Angela Carrasco. I'm very lucky to have her in my life because she's very young, much younger than me, but she's a professional speaker, and she gave me a lot of great tips and advice to prepare for this day. Now, some of the mentors I had in my career have also been my sponsors. What's the difference? A sponsor is that person that advocates for you when you're not there in the room, where careers are being decided, where decisions are being made about your next step. Oftentimes, a mentor could be a sponsor. And I was very fortunate early in my career to have a sponsor that was a senior leader in PepsiCo. This senior leader, I was the most junior person in their team, but I feel that they identified with me because this senior leader had also immigrated to the US from her country, from India. This leader was extremely smart and had also very high standards for performance. I learned a lot by simply observing this leader in meetings. One evening, this is very late, 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening, I was in the office of the senior leader with a colleague of mine, the three of us, and then the PepsiCo CEO at the time, Roger Enrico, imagine the CEO of the company, I was, again, a junior analyst, walks into her office. And I decide to leave because we're like, okay, the CEO is coming, we gotta leave. And the senior leader say, no, you can stay. They engage in a big discussion about an M&A transaction we were working on. It was the acquisition of Tropicana, the juice brand. Roger, there was a whole discussion about the price of the deal, how much we ended up paying. PepsiCo ended up paying about $2.8 billion for that company in 1998. Roger was very keen on buying the company. He said, like, he was leading a big transformation in PepsiCo at the time because we needed to make the Pepsi beverages portfolio healthier, bring different options for consumers, and orange juice was a big thing then. But at the same time, the senior leader was very concerned about the risks of bringing that to a portfolio. You know, this senior leader got prepared in a way that I was really impressed. They explained how fresh orange juice needed to be transported to the Northeast, which is the biggest region for this business in the US, by train, dedicated train lines from the plant in Bradenton, Florida. Then they explain also how the weather in places like Florida or Brazil can impact the price of oranges and the sweetness and so many other factors that we needed to understand because that affected the profitability of the business. The point I'm trying to make here is that sometimes you learn a lot from mentors by simply paying close attention to how they work, how they lead, like in this particular case. And I was very fortunate to spend 4 years in this senior leaders team, during which I learned a lot. After 4 years, I eventually left her team to go to London for the treasury role in Asia Pacific, but I stay in touch. This senior leader went on to become the CFO of PepsiCo globally, and eventually the CEO. You probably have heard her. She retired a few years ago, but she's still very influential. She's on the board of Amazon. She's a great part of I would say the learnings I had throughout my career. But I was lucky to join her team when she was the head of strategic planning, and she was very young. She was very young, and I was even younger. We were all there in an outing in Vermont. And I suspected that this senior leader, Indra Nui, was a sponsor in my career, but I never fully confirmed it until a day in April 2016, coincidentally, the day of my birthday, my parents called me to say that they had received a letter. They were somewhat surprised. They didn't speak English, and they got a letter in English that said clearly the CEO of PepsiCo. She was known for sending letters to the employees of the company, but I never expected that she would send a letter to my parents. And, I had mentioned to her my desire to work in Venezuela. I mentioned that during a conversation on career many years earlier. And in this letter, she mentioned to my parents how she recognized that the country was in a very challenging situation, but the fact that I took this role, how I spoke for the love of my country, for the business, and for its people. And when I took the decision, I didn't do it to earn her recognition. Honestly, I never thought, I'm making this because I want her recognition. I want to do it because I was connected to my purpose. But of course, reading those words felt incredible. One of the proudest moments in my career when I was leading this business in Venezuela was when we won, the Venezuela business won the most prestigious awards that we had in PepsiCo at the time, the Donald Kendall Awards. Donald Kendall was the founder of PepsiCo, the guy who brought Pepsi and Frito-Lay together. Basically, the best international businesses would compete in a presentation in New York, live, in front of the senior management of the team, for an award, the Donald Kendall Awards. We have to present for 20 minutes, and the senior management would choose which country deserved this award based on business results, people results, sustainability, a lot of different metrics. And that we were nominated 3 years in a row, and the final year, I was able to lift that trophy in front of Indra, Donald Kendall, who was still alive at the time. And it was probably the proudest moment in terms of representing a whole team that I knew had worked so hard to win this award. So as you can see, it was because of a mentor who encouraged me to come to Philadelphia to study English that I made that decision to look for work in PepsiCo. It was another mentor who connected me to that opportunity. Then I had many mentors and sponsors like Indra who took a chance on me, and I learned a lot by simply observing them. And behind every move that I had in this company, there was an insightful conversation with a mentor, with a sponsor, in many cases the support of a sponsor, who spoke about me in the rooms that I was not part of. There was a phrase one of my early mentors at PepsiCo told me, which has stuck with me throughout my years, my many years. He said that what he liked about me was that I was a hungry person with fire in my belly. I never heard of that phrase, that expression before, but I like it. So now I want to ask you, how many chances to be mentored are you missing today just because you didn't notice them? In the world where we live today, dominated by social media and great tools like LinkedIn, I use it a lot, the risk that we have is that everything that we're doing seems, curated, right? Everything has to be curated. And you almost feel like, for example, a mentoring opportunity has to be like a 30-minute session with a mentor where there is a question asked and an answer given. And yes, many times happens like that, but I can assure you that a lot of the mentoring I had wasn't through a formal session. It was because I was sitting in a meeting observing a leader doing something. So I just want to encourage you to pay close attention to those opportunities that are around you to be mentored, including your great professors, your managers, your coaches, your senior people in your family. Now, when you're with a mentor or someone that could be a mentor, are you showing up as hungry to learn? Are you showing up with fire in your belly? Because that's another part of it. For a mentor to invest that energy and that time with you, they have to see that you really have the interest to be mentored. Now, we all often refer to people who do well as lucky. This or that person is very lucky because they have an amazing job, or because they have a great family, or because they achieve this and that. I once read a definition of luck that has since then become one of my mottos, and which I repeat to my kids all the time. Luck happens when preparation meets opportunity. Think how many times you have been able to see an opportunity and act quickly to seize it because you spotted it and you were prepared. But at the same time, I ask you to think about the times where you had opportunities you had to miss because you were not prepared. And even worse, you probably haven't even noticed that the opportunity was in front of you because you were not there. You were not noticing. You were paying attention to something else. So I just want to say in closing that I really hope that you will not be able to take the road less traveled if you think that that will take you to a better destination. That I also hope that you will make an intentional effort to stay connected to home, so you may always feel that sense of belonging that is so important in our life, and that you will network with intention, so that you can count on having amazing mentors and amazing sponsors throughout your life and your career. Thank you again, and I hope to get a chance to meet some of you later today through a networking session. Thank you. Thank you.
Testing. Thank you so much to Mr. Escalona for sharing with us today some words of wisdom. I'm going to invite Julia, our student missions chaplain, to come up with her final announcement.
Hi, guys. So I'm going to try to make this really quick. My name is Julia. I'm the missions chaplain for this year. I just got back from my mission year in the Marshall Islands. And if you've been to the CAF, we have booths in the cafeteria. Some of them are rotating, but I and some other missionaries have been at one booth every day this week, just to see if you want to come be a missionary next year, a student missionary, or just if you've thought about it. And if you have come up to our booth, I told you guys that we were going to draw for gift cards today, so that's what we're going to do today. Do you guys want to do a drum roll? Is that too? Let's do a drum roll. Drum roll. I'm not looking. Steven? Clem, I don't know how to say this last name. Is he here? He's here? I saw a finger. I don't have my glasses. Come get a gift card if you're here. Gift card. No? Is that you? Okay. Wait, I have one more. Okay. Starbucks and Sonic.
What did I do to get this?
You signed up to maybe be a missionary. Maybe.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, just one, not both.
Oh.
One.
I guess I'll do this one.
Okay. Okay. One more. Drum roll. Oh yeah. Sorry guys. Okay. Drum roll. Okay, that's good. I'll take it. I don't know how to say his name. Can you wait? Can you help me?
Tupovunileva.
Is she here? Oh, is it a dude? Sorry, I may have called you a woman. I'm so sorry. It is a girl. Is she here? Guys, gift card. No? Okay. So sad. Okay, drum roll. Pascaline. Okay, so we are still gonna have our booths in the cafeteria tomorrow. Now, this does not mean that you have signed up to go be a missionary. Let me make that clear. This is just so I have your information if you've thought about it, okay? So if you have thought about it, come to the cafeteria tomorrow at lunch from 11:30 to 2, and we'll have people there. And we'll have these little cards so we can just have your information, and I will reach out to you at some point and just see where your head's at about being a missionary, student missionary. I do have a couple announcements really quick. Tonight, we're having co-ed worship in Harmon in Dilt's Chapel. It's like down in the basement at 9:30. So you guys should come out. We're gonna have refreshments, and one of our past missionaries is gonna be sharing something. So be there. It'll be fun. Then tomorrow we're having our missions-themed Vespers at 7:30. We're gonna have a flag processional and some other cool testimonies, and also for Afterglow we're gonna have refreshments. It's gonna be great. So make sure you come out. Lastly, I think we are also having a missions fair. We're gonna have a bunch of booths on Sabbath in the church. In between the services, you can go out and check out the booths. And also from 1:30 to 3:30, they'll be out there. And Miss Grady wanted me to say that we're gonna be having horchata and hibiscus. So I know, so come out. I feel like I had something else, but I don't remember. But go be a student missionary. It'll change your life. Okay, let me pray us out, and then we're good to go. Practice. No. Tomorrow. Yeah.
Selfie before you do that.
Of me? Oh, sorry.
You can be with me. Say hi, guys.
I was like, sure. Okay. All right. Pray. Okay, I'm going to pray. Bow your heads, and then y'all are dismissed. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day. Lord, I just want to pray over all the students at SWAU and just everyone in this room, that you would be with us, that you would draw near to us. I know that we all have things on our hearts that we are struggling with or dealing with, but you know everything, Lord, and I just ask that we would come to you, and I just pray that we would have a restful weekend, and thank you for this week, just for it being Missions Emphasis Week, and just for allowing us to talk about missions and how we're passionate about it. And yeah, thank you for everything that you have done for us. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.